everyone, really exciting video today because I'm going to show you how to retrofit a larger touchscreen into your BMW F series. In my case, the screen is already installed, but I need to remove it and replacing it with a new one because I made some mistakes installing it. So today I'm going to show you how to avoid those mistakes and potentially save yourself a $600 headache. The mistake I made, I actually damaged the screen and damaged some of the pixels. So as you can tell, I've got some damaged pixels here and there. The OEM unit is about 8 inches long, and this is what it looks like. And in the dash, it does look okay, but it does look kind of small when you compare it to the newer BMW models. The new unit, not only is it bigger, but it's also touchscreen. So whether or not you have the OEM screen or the larger screen already installed, the removal procedure is the same. You just have to pop this trim out, and you do so by popping the clips here and just gently prying it here, and then here you just want to pop it with your hands and it's good to go. Here you've got 2 clips that you need to uninstall. Then with the switch, you can push it forward, remove the switch, put it in a safe place, and put this in a safe place as well. Next, the screen is held by these 2 T20 hex bolts. And now a pro tip, if you don't want them falling in, you apply a piece of magnet next to it and you unscrew it just in case they fall off the driver. They'll be caught by the magnet just like that. Next, if you have your OEM screen, this is what it looks like from the back. So this is going to be your OEM screen. You just undid these bolts here. In the back, you have to lift it up, and as you lift it up, there's a little connector here. The connector squeezes and it pulls out. It's a very, very difficult squeeze or pull out, so you're just gonna have to be patient with it, but essentially you squeeze it hard and just wiggle it as best as you can. There we go. And these are the screens in question. The one that I'm holding in my hand is the original 8.25 inch screen that I originally took out of my car. And as you can see, when you compare screen size to screen size, so the screen line is here and the screen line ends here. So you have this much more real estate on the replacement screen. This is the screen that we just removed, the one that I've been testing over the last week or so. And as you can tell, I've made numerous modifications to it, and this is the new one that I recently purchased. With the one that I installed last week, I trimmed the sides here. So as you can tell, you see this guy here, maybe I'll flip it like this. There we go. So the corner here, in order for this unit to be able to go in deeply into the body of the car, you have to adjust the size. So I trimmed this end here with a Dremel, but in the process of doing it, I trimmed too deep and I damaged the actual screen. So I did it on both ends, and because of that, the screen lost some pixels and it gave me some fuzzy lines. At the same time, I also wanted to show you, I also trimmed the plastic because this plastic is too wide to fit the actual opening in the car, so it needs to be Dremeled out. And as you can tell, for example, this is what it originally looks like, and this is how I modified it. Oh, and last but not least, this one, you see these 2 clips? These two clips have to be cut out, but they can be done so by using snippets. Before we jump to modifying this screen, let me show you what happens if you don't make any modifications and try to fit this screen. So here in the back, you've got these hangers, and these hangers sit on those clips there. So you want to slide it onto them, and this is how deep it goes. It actually doesn't go very deep. As you can tell, the plastic here interferes with the dash. So the idea is to cut just enough plastic so it wraps around the dash and it allows you to sit the unit down. Another thing is, the actual opening here needs to be adjusted just a little bit in order for you to be able to squeeze the screen. So let's do some testing. We've got the new unit here. Again, we're just going to remove these screws here. In this case, just remove the plastic. Trimming the side of the screen here is inevitable, and you can do this without removing this whole back plate. But first thing what you want to do is you want to protect the screen. So let's put some tape over it. The magic of editing. Now that I've got this protected, I can flip it upside down. And so there's a couple of ideas. I can just cut this without removing anything, which is probably the easiest thing to do. I can also remove this whole screen and get everything out of the way. But I'm gonna show you the easiest way, which in this case is keeping everything in place and just trimming it as is. So there you go. On the left-hand side is the original one. On the right-hand side is my mark. Now, I used a little sharp tool to mark the incision. And first what I'm going to do is, if you do not have a Dremel tool, I'm going to see if I can use a proper knife to just cut the plastic. Now, this is a very hard plastic, but I wonder if with just enough persistence I can cut it out. And there you go. This is the progress. On the left hand side is the original one. On the right hand side is the one that I just scraped using my knife. And this method, yes, it was a bit lengthy, but I was able to get a bit more sort of curvature into it and a lot less dust. These are all the little plastic chunks that were left, whereas if you use a Dremel, you get a lot of dust everywhere. The next step we have to do is, you see these little corners here. These corners prevent the whole unit from going in place, and if you compare it to the original one, there we go. Let's see, lay it side by side. And this is one way to actually do test fitting. If you align it, you could see that this sort of ends here, and we could probably get away by not even touching this metal, but the plastic here needs to be cut out. But before we do that, there's a piece of copper insulation here. You just have to bend it outwards and not make the same mistake I made the last time. So these tools, by the way, super handy for this type of work. I'm gonna link it in the description for your viewing pleasure. So now when you put them one on top of another, you could tell that for the most part they should fit. So let's go do a quick test fit and let's see how close we are. Okay, so this one's gonna hang on the hangers in the back. Let's see, how close are we? Now, why doesn't it want to go in all the way? There are a couple of issues that need to be addressed. So as you can tell, there are little grooves here. You see these grooves, but then these grooves also have these high parts. You basically grind, or you push maybe with a screwdriver, these high parts which allow these clips to go in. So essentially you want to make a little incision here to let the unit sit on it. By the way, when you're doing this and you get sweaty, it's a good idea to protect your investment. In this case, my steering wheel, Alcantara and leather. It's fairly new, so I got this thing on Amazon. You get, I think, pack of 50 of them for very cheap. And every time I work on the car and my hands are dirty, I now started using this, so it's highly recommended. Okay, I spent a few minutes cutting the areas out, and this is what it looks like. I cut little openings here for the corners to sit flush. I actually made the opening here just a little larger, but not too large as to, if I ever want to go back to stock, I can put the stock screen back on and everything will be as original as possible. So you won't be able to see any of those things. But these things, cutting holes here, is an absolute must if you do not want to modify your screen. Now, to me, this was a no-brainer because you do not see any of this, and this is probably the least intrusive way of installing the actual screen. So now, the moment of truth, we put everything back here, and bam, everything fits. The idea is for the holes to line up, and as you can tell, they line up almost perfectly. This section is now done. We're going to now modify the back, and it's actually going to be easier now that we know that the front goes in quite easily. And again, we're not going to use a Dremel tool. We're going to use a knife to cut around the back so it sits flush and fits in the dash. So we just mark it with this little guy, the moment of truth. Everything is trimmed all by using a knife. We did not use a Dremel at all. So we're going to clip it back in place and hopefully do one last final fit. This is me test fitting it live. I haven't tried it yet, so you're experiencing this with me. And just by looking at the holes, we are aligned. And look at this. Look how perfect this is. The fact that the holes align means that the back has been trimmed properly. So I think we might be good to go on this front. Before you put everything back together, there are a couple of things you need to do. First, you just plug it in to see if it works. The thing is, the first time you plug it in, it will not work because some coding is required. So let me show you exactly now which coding parameters need to be changed in order for this unit to power on when you start the car. So these are all the parameters that need to be changed. The beauty of it is, if you use my coding tutorial video, you can easily do it. But you know what? I'm going to show it to you now just in case you have any questions or comments. First thing we do is we navigate to our Beamer Code app and connect. Now, if you're not certain on how to do it, essentially there's a little OBD unit here, VPAC, and this allows you to code anything you need. So to code, this ignition has to be on, and we hit continue. Once the app opens up, you try to find the head unit. See, it says head unit here. You click on head unit, it'll load all the data for the head unit. Okay, and you've got to change a few parameters, but what you want to do is you want to go to expert mode. So you hit expert mode, hit continue, and then you've got to search for all of these. I'm going to link all of them in the description, but essentially what you do is, for example, CID_Apex. It's hard to find it through this menu, but there's a search box here. So you search for CID_Apex mode. There you go. Then, and make sure Apex 2 is selected. In my case, I already went through all of this, so it doesn't make sense for me to do this, but you just make sure all of these parameters are selected, including the resolution. The screen is a larger screen, so it needs a larger resolution. But let's pick another random one. Let's say display variante. Let's do this again. Display underscore display variante. Bright display. There you go. I guess it's bright display. So you just follow all of these. Once you do everything, you hit code. In my case, I didn't change any code, so the code is dark. But in your case, after you have changed all of these parameters, you hit code. The car will code it, or the app will code it for you, and you should be good to go. And now for the moment of truth. You ready? Put the ignition on. Look at this. Now, let's see if touchscreen works. BMW Assist. Bam. So, one thing to note about touchscreen. If you have touchscreen enabled, you will get these three little squares. And bam, as you can tell, everything works. And it's super duper responsive. Now that we know that everything works, we can plug everything back in. Use our screws to put everything back in place. It's nice and sturdy. Next, we grab our trim. So now, the moment we've been waiting for. Let me adjust the wheel, take this off. This is what happens when you turn your screen on. Look at this. Not only do you now have a bigger screen, but it's also touchscreen. And check this out, it's a super nice resolution. The touch from my testing that I've done over the last week, the touch is actually very responsive. And what you could do is, you could actually code this iDrive to have the 5.0 skin. It'll still be the 4.0 underpinnings and everything, but it'll have the 5.0 screen. I actually like this screen only because it goes into a screensaver mode, that little analog clock. I actually get a lot of comments about what that clock is about. Well, that clock is part of iDrive 4.0 screensaver, but this is fantastic, and look how awesome this looks. See all the trimming here, all the trim here, the trim also matches here, and look how nice this looks. It's a much bigger screen. It looks OEM, it looks like it's part of the car. It looks like it was supposed to be like this from factory. So I am actually super excited. But check this out. Bam. If you want to go to Apple CarPlay, you can click this and you've got your Apple CarPlay set up and ready to go. And we're done. Now, if you have any questions about this install, feel free to post them below. I'll answer every single comment. But this is pretty awesome. To do this, you do need the VPAC and the coding software that I linked in the description. So do that. But also, these screens can be found on eBay for about 600 bucks or so. Now, there are two versions. If you do not have NBT Evo, so up to 2015 and a half or so, there's a different screen model, and the modifications are slightly different. But anyways, let me know what you think of this. I'm super happy. I've already tested it for a week. I had this on the track. The gauges look a lot bigger when you're driving. It's just a fantastic upgrade. It really ups the look and feel of the car. I kind of want this video to get out there and show people how easy it is to retrofit it. So if you can help me promote it, that will be fantastic, because in my mind this is one of the best interior upgrades you could make to your vehicle. Anyways, on that note, I want to thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.